have more executive presence, you need to be training your body, your voice, your mindset or state of being, and your emotions. Some common reasons why women don't have the executive presence they want is that they might be in what I call a worker bee mentality. Really common in the women that I work with that keeps them from having the executive presence that would make a difference in their career goals is simply low vitality. Welcome to the She Speaks to Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. She Speaks to Inspire is an empowering public speaking podcast for women with public speaking fear. Unlike other podcasts on public speaking, She Speaks to Inspire not only gives you tips to be a confident communicator under pressure, but also helps you regulate your nervous system for less anxiety, learn lifestyle practices to reduce burnout and overwhelm, and reconnect with your feminine leadership presence for more authenticity and comfort in your skin. I believe it's the quiet ones, especially the quiet women, who have the most important ideas. I believe the world really does need your voice. So let's dive in. Let's talk about executive presence. Sometimes I hear this called leadership presence or corporate presence. Whatever you call it, let's try to define what this is and how you can have more of it in your communication style. Executive presence is a quality of gravitas, charisma, power. It's an energy, it's a vibe, it's a state of being. It's certainly not what you say, but how you say it, right? You could say that executive presence is a mindset that someone has that you sense through their nonverbal communication. When someone has executive presence, you feel it. It's a sense, an impression, a perception. You see them as a leader. When you have this kind of executive presence, leadership presence, it sets you apart. Sets you apart from the crowd, from your coworkers. It sets you apart, and that in and of itself can be super scary, and by the way, is one of the main reasons why people avoid having executive presence, because it's scary to be set apart from the crowd. But understand this, when someone has executive presence, all of a sudden they're different than the group. You can't have 10 people around a table all with the same amount of executive presence. Somebody always has more than the others. There's this sense of leadership. So that also leads us to understand that executive presence is something you can sort of turn on or turn up and turn down or turn off within yourself. If it's not something you're familiar with feeling and expressing, then it will be harder for you to get there. If it's something you've been living in for a while, then it's very easy to turn it on. It's sort of just with you. If you're wanting to advance your career, get the promotion, the raise, if you want to get some funding for your startup or grow your business, all of this will require a new level of executive presence than you've had before. Some common reasons why women don't have the executive presence they want and then therefore don't get the promotions, raises, funding, and clients that they want is that they might be in what I call a worker bee mentality, or you could call it an individual contributor mentality. There is nothing wrong with having this mindset. It's collaborative to be in that independent contributor mindset. You're working as a team. You're supporting someone, supporting your manager, supporting the company, supporting the CEO. However, we're talking about executive presence. The word executive implies entrepreneurship, right? In that there's the CEO. The CEO of a company is inherently entrepreneurial. Even if they're not the owner of the company, most of the time they are, but even if they're not the owner of the company, they're responsible for the health, the well-being, the sustainability of the company and all of its employees, right? There's an entrepreneurial mindset. I need to make this work. Because the number one role of an entrepreneur, a business owner, and I'll speak from personal experience, is to make money, right? To make sales, to be successful financially as a company so that the company thrives. Can you see how an executive mentality is very different than a worker bee mentality? The worker bee or independent contributor doesn't carry the responsibility of if the company survives or not. They might not even think about that. They might not even care. They show up for work, they do what's in front of them, and they leave. Yeah? The executive can't approach their work that way. They didn't get to where they are as an executive with that mentality, and they wouldn't be an executive very long without that mentality. If you see that you're approaching your work with a worker bee mentality or an individual contributor role, that could be holding you back from having more executive presence. I'll take this a little further in that having a team mentality can also hold you back from executive presence. Now, this is counterintuitive because I'm sure that you've been told that it's important to be a team player, to be good at collaborating, and that communication is all about, connecting with people. And all of that is true. Having a team mentality is a really important skill. It's a different skill that can be cultivated in different ways and for perhaps different moments or contexts. But when it comes to executive presence, this is not a team mentality. Again, executive presence sets you apart. So having a team mentality where we're all in consensus and working together and collaborative actually can lower your executive presence. Women will end up in this bucket a lot because they want to make everybody happy and comfortable, but that works against your executive presence as well. And the last thing I want to talk about that is really common in the women that I work with that keeps them from having the executive presence that would make a difference in their career goals is simply low vitality, low energy that they're bringing into their work environment and specifically into important communication moments. Imagine this. You have a weekly update meeting that you lead for your team. Your manager sits in on this meeting regularly, and she's looking for your leadership presence to increase to recommend you for the promotion to the next level. It's Monday morning, right before that weekly update meeting. You didn't sleep well the night before. You'd been drinking all weekend. You roll out of bed at the last minute, down some coffee as fast as possible, throw on a jacket over your sweatpants, and turn on Zoom. As soon as people see you on Zoom, they would easily notice, without even knowing that they're noticing, that you're hunched over, a little collapsed, elbows on the table, low energy in your body. They hear your voice. The first impression is she seems tired. She seems uninterested. Your voice might sound something like this. Hey, everybody. We're going to do a bit of an update. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you being here. Let's start with, you get the idea? Low energy, low vitality. How much executive presence does that have? Not that much, right? Executive presence takes energy. Let's just call it what it is. It takes energy, vitality. That doesn't mean you're pushing, forcing, efforting. Absolutely not. It just means that from the inside out, we sense that you're energized, committed, and focused. We're already starting to get into it, but let's talk about how to have executive presence and how to develop it within yourself, because you can. It's something anyone can develop. I'm going to talk about some more physical things as well as some mindset shifts that you can work on. First of all, like I talk about in all my podcast episodes, all my trainings, to have more executive presence, you need to be training your body, your voice, your mindset or state of being, and your emotions. And all four of these things go together. Really, it's hard to break them apart because when you shift your state of being and your mindset, your body is going to feel different and look different. When you shift your emotions, the tone of your voice is going to shift, and vice versa. Can you see how they all connect? Yet the way that we train each of these might be slightly different. And this is what I teach my clients. With the body, things like physical exercises that bring vitality and vibrance to your muscles so that they're not tense or stiff or rigid. We want fluidity, comfort, groundedness. With your voice, I have my women do vocal exercises that help connect a deeper breathing with a stronger resonant sound in their voice so that their voice comes across as energized, powerful, and direct. With your emotions, it's important to know how to clear out old, stagnant, heavy emotions. We all have them. I mean, life is challenging, right? We've got a bunch of things going on outside of this weekly update meeting. But when it's your turn to show up for that meeting, you need to know how to clear and clean those out so that you can be present and energized for this moment of communication. And that's similar to your mindset or your state of being. Addressing any mindsets that are unconscious and are dragging you down, keeping you small. Like we talked about before, the worker bee mentality or a team mentality. Some other mindsets shifts could be, I take responsibility. Now, you might not be the CEO of the company, but what would it be reasonable for you to take more responsibility of? Sometimes I hear professional women say that they own something. They own this project or they own this team. That's a way of using language that helps you feel a sense of responsibility, and your physiology will rise to the occasion more. Another mindset shift is entering any communication moment with the assumption underneath of everything that you say, the assumption that you will be listened to, that you will be taken seriously. A lot of women walk around with the assumption that they're going to be interrupted. The assumption that what they're saying might not be right or might not be worth listening to. But what if you chose to have the assumption that what you have to say is important and that you will be listened to? That would change everything, right? Everything. And the last mindset shift I want to highlight here is to risk having thought leadership. Having thought leadership is always a risk because someone can disagree with you. If you want more executive presence, you might need to ruffle some feathers. So risk having more thought leadership. To dive into some training on these different areas and to up-level your mindsets, I recommend hopping over to the Fully Expressed program. So head to speaktoinspire.com, register for the program there, and I'll see you in the group program so that I can give you feedback and support along your journey. Thanks for listening. This has been She Speaks to Inspire with Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. I'm so glad you joined me. And I hope you got so much out of this episode. If you want to learn more about Speak to Inspire training programs and get inspired, head over to speaktoinspire.com or follow us on Instagram at She Speaks to Inspire. Never forget, the world needs your voice, and it's time for you to speak to inspire. See you in the next episode.